would you define friendship? What makes someone a friend? Maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, I know that I'm a friend because I do the same things as someone else. Maybe you play a sport together, or you're in the same class, or you hang out together a lot, and that's what makes you a friend, or you have a lot in common with someone, and that's what makes you a good friend. Well, in the Bible, Jesus gives us a little bit of a different picture for what friendship really looks like. And this comes to us in Luke chapter 10, and it's the story of the Good Samaritan, which is a story that most of you have probably heard before. There are these teachers of the law, and they ask Jesus an interesting question. They say, "Who is my neighbor?" And to us, that may seem like an odd question, but at the time, what these people were really asking was, "Who is my friend? Who is my friend?" And Jesus goes on to tell them this parable of the Good Samaritan and a Jewish man who is traveling and gets robbed and is beaten. And along come the priests and the Levites, these people who were also Jewish, who did the same kind of things as the Jewish person, who were the religious elites, these good people who had a lot in common with the Jewish person, and they would have probably said that they were a friend of this man, or in the language that Jesus uses, a neighbor to this man. But none of them stopped to help this person in his time of need. And there's a lot of reasons for that, a lot of different religious reasons or lawful reasons at the time that these people didn't want to become unclean by going and actually helping this person. And so they actually went to the other side of the road and just kept going on their way. But sure enough, a Samaritan came. Now, Samaritans were think about the opposite of Jewish, okay? People who were Jewish would actually go around Samaria to get to where they wanted to. They wouldn't go through, they didn't want to go through Samaria because they had a harsh dislike for the Samaritans. They considered the Samaritans to be unclean. They considered them to not really know who God is. And so there was this big stigma on Samaritans, but it was the Samaritan who stopped to help this Jewish person who was in need. And at the end of this story, Jesus turns the question back to the leaders of the religious law, and he says, of all of these people, who was the neighbor? And they had nothing to say other than the one who showed mercy, and that was the Samaritan. And so for us today, we don't use the language again of being a neighbor. That was specific, especially to that time where people lived in such close quarters, right? And they were all neighbors. We live in a very individualistic society, which certainly says something about our time. But when we reframe the question and apply it to ourselves, not in who is a neighbor, but who is a friend, it has the same impact on us. Who is a friend? It's not the one who has everything in common, but it is the one who is there for someone in their deepest time of need. Someone who is not self-centered, but is looking out for the other person and what they need in the moment. And so we have to ask ourselves the question, are we good friends? Are we good neighbors? It's not about your proximity to someone, but it's about your heart. It's not about your status, but it's about your attitude. It's not about being a neighbor, it's about being neighborly. Are you a friend? Are you actually acting friendly to people? And when we do that, if we act in this way and we show this type of sacrificial love, we are putting on display the gospel in our lives and in the lives of others, and we can have a huge kingdom impact. And so I want to encourage you all, as you continue to study this passage, think about, what can I do to show neighborly love to other people? What can I do to be a friend to other people? How can I reframe how I'm thinking from being self-centered to other-centered and putting them first and looking for opportunities like the one that the Samaritan had? So I hope that you guys are encouraged by this, and I am always praying for you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.